Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday, which means time for my Survivor recap. So, to recap on tonight's episode, Carolyn is pissed because she was let out of the vote last week, and I think she had a realistic reaction. I mean, anybody would be pissed when you're so close to people out there and they don't tell you about the vote. And I get it, like, it would be different like if Carolyn was especially close to that person. I mean, she did seem to get closer to Franny in the more recent episodes, but she didn't look like originally she was close with her. So I do get why they let Carolyn out, because they don't know how close she was to Franny, and they saw they were getting close. So their thought process probably was that they tell Carolyn what's going on, then she's gonna go tell Franny, and then the whole plan's gonna, fall apart. And then by the next morning, she was cool and everything. But what I didn't like was other people's reactions. Like, somebody said she just needs time to cool off, and I think that's true. Like, I honestly think Carolyn just needed time to cool off. I think anybody in that situation just, needs to be alone, decompress, and think about what just happened. And then someone said, "Oh, she needs a lot of things." I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, there's so many mean people with Carolyn. There's so many mean people that are being mean toward Carolyn just because she thinks differently and everything. Like, I personally like Carolyn. I think she's great out there. She's one of my favorite players this season. But yeah, like I said, by the next morning, everything was cool. Yam Yam, Carolyn, and Carson all talked to each other, and everything is good. So the big talk now is, who do they get off? Because as I mentioned many times, and as every Survivor fan knows, that when you're in pairs, it's very dangerous out there in this game. And this exception, it's 3 people. And everybody else is seeing that out there, saying that they need to break them up. And the question is, who do they try to take out? And the big name out there is Jam Jam. He's very likable. He's a big social threat. He has made friends with every single person out there. Everybody loves him, which is good, but it's also dangerous in the game of Survivor. So that's the number 1 target right now. And what I didn't get was that they were saying that the Tika 3 were in the alliance, but there's 4 people right over there that could easily control the vote. Like, they said that, oh, they have the alliance, I know they'll just pick us off one by one. No, they really don't have the alliance right now. It's either Danny's alliance has the majority because there's 4 people, or when we saw Lauren talk, we saw that Lauren was very open to working with Tika. So in that scenario, Lauren's the swing vote, so she could either vote somebody off over on Danny's side, or she could go to Carson and Jam Jam and Carolyn's, alliance. So that's how powerful a swing vote is. So you want to make sure you have all your alliances together, because it seems, at least on Jam Jam, Carolyn, and Carson's team, they're all equal. Like, there's no like powerhouse or like someone calling the shots. Like, they all seem to be like on the same level. Whereas Danny's team, I feel like Lauren and Jamie are on the bottom of that alliance, whereas Danny seems to be calling the shots with Heidi as the co-pilot. So they get to the immunity challenge, and this is one of my favorite challenges. It's the one that you have to it basically tests your ability to handle pressure. And it's that water one where you're basically like hooking yourself on a cage, and the tide keeps coming in, and as it comes in, you have to learn how to deal with the pressure, and basically whoever can stay there the longest wins. And we saw last season, Carla and Owen rocked this challenge. In fact, they beat the challenge. I don't think anybody's ever beat the challenge before. So I'm just very curious to see how long people would last this challenge. And it ended up coming down between Heidi and Jam Jam, and Jam Jam actually won immunity. So congrats, Jam Jam, on winning immunity. And now it throws Danny's alliance plans into chaos, because their original plan was to get off Jam Jam, but because he won immunity, now they go back to the drawing table. They want to take out Carson because I like Carson, but he is a threat out there. Like, he's very intelligent, he's really good at puzzles, and he's very likable. And he does have, like, if he makes it to the final 3, he has a good chance of winning. So they want to get rid of Carson. And on the other side, they seem to want to get rid of Danny, because, like I've mentioned how many times before, Danny, even though Carson has won immunity, Danny is not afraid to make the big moves that other people are afraid to make. And they want to try, at least Jam Jam's alliance, the Three Stooges alliance, is trying to throw Danny's name under the bus. And, well, not really Danny's, they're trying to, because they were all talking about pairs, they're the 3 alliance, we gotta break them up, but they're not seeing that Danny and Heidi are also in a pair alliance, so they need to break them up. And the Three Stooges came up with the idea to tell Danny that Heidi was the one that voted him out last tribal council, and I believe Jam Jam did tell him, but he didn't believe it. But so they definitely, want to try to get rid of Danny. When they get to tribal council, they're basically talking about the normal Survivor politics out there. How it wasn't anything like big going on. Like, tonight was the last night that people could use their shot in the darks. Nobody did that. But Carolyn, it seemed like people were picking on her again. Lauren was talking about something, and it looked like they had a different view, and Carolyn didn't understand what Lauren was saying, so she asked for clarity, which I ask for clarity all the time, and Danny was kind of making an ass out of her, and Carolyn stood up for herself, and I do like that she did that. Yeah, I really need to pay attention more in tribal councils, but Carolyn did actually play her idol for Carson, and it was a tie at first. It came down to one vote between Heidi or Danny, and it actually was Danny that got sent home. I do think they made the right decision, because I don't think Lauren, Jamie, and Heidi are going to know what to do without Danny calling the shots, but they make their own alliance, which would make it interesting next tribal council, because you have 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. So, yeah. And it was interesting that Carolyn, took so long to vote, and she originally wrote Carson, but then crossed it out and wrote Danny. So I'm curious her explanation behind that. I hope she'll explain that next week. But yeah, it was a really great episode, and it really hit home for me, because Carson mentioned during tribal council what Survivor means to him, and he said that he was always labeled the geek, and in high school he was always the weird one, and as somebody who's has autism and who's on the spectrum, that meant a lot to hear that, because I'm always labeled for being different than everybody else, and it's definitely not easy. And to be in a big social game like Survivor, and the amount of prep work that Carson put into going out there is amazing, and Carson is really a true hero, whether he wins this season or not. He is a true hero, and if there's a returning season, I guarantee you he'll be asked back. So hope you guys enjoyed tonight's Survivor. If you guys want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS, or you could live stream it on Paramount+. Hope you guys enjoyed my Survivor recap, and until next time, stay regal.